And welcome to episode 83 of Unbuckling the Bible Belt podcast. I am your host, Kate, the Bluegrass Skeptic.
And I'm the other host, Joe Kindick. Hi.
Hi, everybody. So we kind of made it tonight with music and fancy scrolly stuff. We're getting there, Joe.
One day we'll be professional. And
Yeah,
by we, I mean you, because it's just, I'm never going to be professional. You're the brains behind this outfit. I'm just the good looks.
It's a money thing. So, yeah, we won't have it anytime soon, probably. But we'll get it eventually. Someday. Eventually. Hopefully.
It gives us our rustic charm.
Yeah. So, tonight's going to be a fun night. We're going to just go over some kind of a refresher course. I thought people could really use a refresher course with this whole logic. You know how we all pride ourselves on being rational thinkers, but how rationally realistic are we really, right?
I try, but yeah, you're totally right. We all ad hominems get thrown out a lot. I've noticed that one.
Yeah. Or people just like rage quit, don't want to engage anymore in conversation on a topic.
I totally get that.
Who doesn't? They do get it a little bit, but it's just, I think it's at a point that I think people sometimes get confronted with realizing that their well planned out thought of attack or discussion didn't quite go the way they wanted it to. And guess what? Then they get frustrated and they just don't want to talk anymore. They don't want to play anymore. That's how I see it.
Well, I'm going to take my ball and go home. I mean, they say once you get angry, you've lost the argument.
Exactly.
God, it's so hard not to get angry at fucking idiots. It's so hard.
It is. It can be very difficult to not get aggravated with folks. And that's what I thought we'd discuss some of the more popular, the difference between common sense and logic, I think is a really important one too, because people seem to think that common sense is logic, like actual logic.
Wait, it's not? Oh, I'm screwed.
Not quite. I don't think people understand what the difference between common logic and formal logic, I think, is what it comes down to. And it's kind of an important deal. I think when you have that perspective and understanding of the difference between the two, it might help you out, because common sense, as we're going to discuss later, it's based on a lot of assumptions that might not necessarily be correct. So, like when we all remember that science quiz question, well, if we dropped a bowling ball and a baseball out of an airplane, which one's going to hit the ground first? Yeah. And logic, common sense would say, the bowling ball.
Because it's heavier.
Yeah. See, and that's the problem with common sense styles of logic. So that's
fair.
Yeah, that's what we're going to, we'll discuss a little bit of that tonight, maybe some examples we've seen. Also, I managed to go have a interesting conversation with a gentleman by the name of Angelo. He's out of Japan. He has a podcast called Social Jello with Angelo.
I like that.
Yeah. It's kind of different. I mean, literally his name is, on Facebook anyway, he's got Jello Ferrer, I think is how you pronounce his last name, but it's Gello Ferrer. So it's Jello.
But social jello in Japan might be a whole different genre of porn I've never observed. Might want to check that out.
That's something maybe we could ask him. I thought about having him on the show, because I mean, you've lived in Japan for a bit, yeah?
No, I visited Japan. I lived in the Philippines.
Yeah, that's right. You lived in the Philippines.
My first Disney World experience, or Disneyland experience, was Tokyo, which is actually the last time I prayed. We were on Magic Mountain, and or Space Mountain, I should say. And my father's 6'5", and I kept praying that he wasn't going to hit his head and get chopped off because it was really tight in there. I think it wasn't made for 6'5" people. But I think that was the last time I actually.
Was it made for Americans?
It was not made for Americans, especially super tall Americans. That 6'5" is a fucking tall dude. So.
What culture is it? It's an Asian culture that's got like some of the tallest people.
Oh, the Koreans are the tallest. They're 5'8".
That's it.
On average,
yes,
yeah.
The Koreans.
Which is what scared the fuck out of the Vietnamese during the Vietnam War, because they looked like the Vietnamese, but they were American sized, and their kill death ratio was 25-1. Yeah. They were in fucking beast mode in Vietnam. They also believed you couldn't re-educate economies. Yeah, they were brutal.
Yeah, sounds like it. But yeah, I had an interesting conversation with Angelo. He's obviously a Japanese transplant, so to speak. He's transplanted in Japan. Long story short,
he teaches English, doesn't he? I think
yeah, and he does martial arts. He's got a psychology degree. Really talented guy. He's fantastic. I really, really enjoyed him. So I was really glad that he kind of reached out to me. I kind of participated in one of his conversations on his feed not too long ago. And I think that's kind of what spurred the interest from there, because he could see how super patient I am with the idiots, as you call them. So wow. I'm super patient because, well, Angelo's a lot like me. He sees these people that act this way as like bugs under his microscope. They don't realize he's really examining their human nature, so they can't really rattle him or get him too angry. And so we had a lot in common, so it was kind of a neat conversation we had with him this past week. But he brought up some interesting points I thought we might talk about on this show. And I don't know. So where do you want to start? You want to start off with some fallacies? Do you want to see a little snippet of the dish with Angelo, and we go from the end of that teaser trailer and your thoughts? Really, I think Angelo's stuff might segue into fallacious thinking.
I think it will. I just have one question. Your Facebook profile picture, what the fuck? What is that?
It's the meat puppies, okay? They come to the slaughter like children to an ice cream truck.
Gotcha. Just checking.
Borderlands, man. It's Borderlands.
Oh, fuck. That's why that looked familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, I borrowed my son's mask. I love Sean Boy did Psycho cosplay for several years, and he did it last Halloween as well, and he actually scared the little kids because Sean actually can sound like the Psychos now too.
Sweet.
So not only does he look like them, skimpy body, because he's only 15 and doesn't work out, he's got the crazy buzz off hair underneath the mask. His voice goes for it too. So yeah, he's got the part down pat. It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
But yeah, I love the Psycho characters because some of the things they say. One of them does like one of the whole a soliloquy that's in Macbeth, like that's in Borderlands.
Which one? The first one, or the second one?
I think the first one.
Yeah, I've played that game through
second
both.
One. Second one.
I've never played Borderlands 2. I beat Borderlands
Second one. Second one.
Sucked.
And the second one beat the first one out big time. It's like
did it really?
One.
Wow, because I really enjoyed the first one. I thought that was a brilliant style of game.
They kicked the shit out of the first one with the second one.
Wow, I need to get that then.
So if nobody's played it yet, y'all are missing out, and it's on sale and cheap on Steam. You need to get into it. You're missing, because part of the reason I like Borderlands is just the script alone is entertaining. Yeah,
it really was. I love the entire concept of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very good game set. Now, I haven't played the pre-sequel. I haven't really made time for it yet, and I need to. Some people say you love or hate it because there's like gravity in the moon because you're playing as Jack in that one. But yeah, you need to play Borderlands 2. You're missing out.
Sweet.
But okay, enough of that fun stuff.
Well, I guess let's hit Jello first, and then if it segues, that's the word. Segues into the fallacious thing. That would be cool. Yeah. My brain just
it will
right there. Oh, hey, and if you want to, check out this week's Atheists in the Trailer Park podcast. I'm on there with Tucker doing the Wisdom of Solomon.
Oh, nice.
There's no wisdom in there. Just want to point
I know.
God apparently hates handicapped people. I learned that, so that was cool.
And he doesn't seem to have a problem with women fighting over eating each other's children as part of a deal. The king was more upset.
I'd watch that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Really? It's a really good story. It's in the Bible during Solomon's time. He was the king, and there's a famine going through the land. And they ate one lady's kid one night, and then the other woman was supposed to offer her kid up for everybody to eat the next, and then she wouldn't do it. And so this woman was complaining to the king, this bitch won't give up her kid for us all to eat after we ate mine.
It's like Rochambeauing. You kick the guy in the nuts, and then you say, oh, you win. Yeah, it's stupid. People that dumb? Yeah. Never mind. That was a dumb question. People are that dumb. I apologize. That's why
humanity, man. We're swimming in it.
That's why I'm not a humanist. I don't think people are the vast majority of people are worth anything.
All right. Well, let me go ahead and play this little teaser trailer from my social Jello with Angelo.
Sweet, sweet.
I'm personally from California, and one of the stereotypes that Californians, and specifically Southern Californians, I'm from San Diego originally, have of the Midwestern states, is especially after the last election, is that everybody's a bunch of conservatives and religious and all those other things.
The majority is, unfortunately. That's why we have our podcast, because we think it's really important to make sure that there's a voice for the minority, ideologically speaking anyway, in the state, as far as ideological values.
Oh, wow, that's really cool.
It's important to have that voice. There's a lot of folks that can't speak up in these states, these red states, as they call them, simply because they risk losing their job.
And I was having a discussion with a Trump supporter in San Francisco, and he was saying about how what you just mentioned from his perspective is what he feels is happening to him in the liberal states, that if he comes out as a Trump supporter, he has a fear of losing his job. He has a fear by liberals, which is a really interesting take on it. What do you think about that?
I think it's highly possible in certain pockets of cities or businesses to face overzealous, political or ideological favoritism. Absolutely. I don't doubt that can happen. That can happen, just like we've seen it happen with the liberal side of things as well.
So
that was cool.
Here we are. Yeah.
I don't think that would ever happen, though.
See, I was like, that's why I thought we discussed this, because I think it can happen. You don't think it's legitimate, like the guy who got beat in the street by those 3 kids?
The potential is there, but you're not. I don't see enough. I mean, in the South, you can lose your job for being an atheist. That's 100% true. I mean, that's the reason I'm fucking anonymous on this fucking podcast. Mm-hmm. Not because of me, it's because of my wife.
Yeah, but, you're protecting your family.
Well,
yeah.
Tucker would probably be fired right now if they knew who he was. I've never heard the opposite of that. I've never heard of someone being fired because I'm trying to think offhand. I mean, anecdotal, obviously, but I don't think anyone's ever been fired for being just a Christian. I mean, there's Christians that have gotten fired for being, stupid, but not because they were a Christian or.
Well, this is about being a conservative and an open Trump supporter because of all of the rhetoric that goes around with being a Trump supporter.
I don't see it. I mean, I'm not saying the left is more tolerant. I mean, we've seen the opposite of that in a lot of cases, but I've just never. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not a possibility. I just can't think of an example offhand. Maybe if it keeps getting worse, when the people realize how you assholes fucked us, then maybe it would happen. But right now, I don't think so.
Well, my thing is, okay, so maybe somebody doesn't get fired, but if we've seen people incur violence towards them, put against them for being Trump supporters. I mean, we've seen this. Well, that is legitimate.
Yeah.
So like I said, I think it is possible, and maybe it's happened. I haven't actually looked it up. That's my blind side. I don't look it up, frankly. I don't agree that all Trump supporters automatically condone racism and bigotry, though, either, because I know a lot of them that don't. They like some of his ideas for policies because they own businesses and they're wealthy, and well, Trump's going to make sure they get more money. That's purely how they're looking at their support for Trump. They're, how we love to criticize some Christians for picking and choosing out of the Bible. Well, these folks are kind of picking and choosing their political persuasion and bias as well for what benefits them without ascribing to everything else. And is it fair? Is it fallacious even for us? I said fallacious.
You did.
Is it okay for us to say, oh, well, because you support Trump, you're automatically all of these things, or you're automatically condoning all of these things?
Well, there was an undocumented Mexican citizen who grew up here, came over when she was like 3 years old, who voted for Trump because she's Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
And they had her on NPR. And my first thought is like, are you fucking stupid? I mean, obviously she's not pro-racism, but she's pro or anti-abortion. So she's pro all that other terrible shit just by virtue of voting for that guy.
Well, that's what I mean. Does that automatically mean you support racism and everything else simply because you cast a vote for Trump? Some would say, well, then you obviously support Israel and killing young kids just because you helped put Obama in office.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're supporting abortion if you support Israel because they have the laxest abortion laws in the world.
Yeah.
Awesome. I always love bringing that up, by the way.
It's a good point. It is a good point. And I guess that's where when we're discussing these types of scenarios, when is our logic, well, it automatically follows that because of this that you support, you're part of this crowd too? Does that mean you're automatically a white supremacist just because you voted for Trump?
Well, does it mean you're complicit if you give money to the Catholic Church continually, if you tithe to them and they're paying off child rapists' parents?
Exactly.
Are you complicit? So is there guilt by complacency?
Yeah. I mean, how far does this go? How far along? I mean, technically, we're all still helping to contribute to slave labor because of the type of clothing and deals we buy on our food. And a lot of people don't even know where our food comes from. And we're contributing to animal rights abuse. I mean, when you look at all this, we're all pieces of shit human beings then, We all are.
And there's just little glimmers of hope out there, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I totally thought about going vegan because of, I think the factory farming is fucking terrible, but goddamn, I love bacon. And I mean, I have no problem killing the animal myself. I think that's maybe where it should come. If you can't willingly kill the animal yourself, you shouldn't be able to eat meat. I think that should be a rule.
Should even just fucking know how to raise the animal to get it to be fat enough to eat to begin with.
I just think we should all hunt.
Yeah. So that's just kind of where this conversation with Jello is going.
Jello.
I'm not making fun of you, Jello. If you're watching, I'm not making fun. It's Angelo. But yeah, it's something that it's like, yeah, how ridiculous is this guy's perspective of, oh, this was an Angelo saying he felt he's conservative and being threatened. It was someone he was dealing with. I mean, this guy was dealing with flat earthers too. I mean, he's been trolled by flat earthers for like the last week now, all over his Twitter page. So he's had a lot of fun just dealing with different people. And I guess that just brings us in, when you're dealing with these people, you got to be careful. One, they're going to play their own logical fallacies. And two, you also have the problem that you might make that mistake yourself. So true, right? So very, very true about that. And that's what you're thinking when you're dealing with these people. What's wrong with you? Like you said, you were wondering, is this woman fucking stupid, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a friend of mine that I've known for a couple of years now. I watched her go from being a fulfilled eschatological. That's a hard word.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, fulfilled
Like,
eschatology Christian.
well,
Who believe, you know, they're the people that believe that everything that happened in Revelation had already happened, like the fall of Nero and all that, like, you know, history suggests. And I watched her go from that to an atheist, and then into an agnostic / cultural Christian. And I think now she's back to being a Christian, and she's also a flat earther now.
oh my god!
And I'm like, this chick, she's fucking brilliant. She's extremely intelligent, and I just don't
they
fucking
always
get
are.
it.
That's what's messed up about it. They're very intelligent people. Okay, these folks that like believe in flat Earth, hollow Earth, they are not stupid people, but they've really manipulated reality to make what they want to be the narrative make sense. If that makes any sense.
Feeding their own bias.
Pretty much, you know. And that's what I was going to say. I was going to show everybody they have this logical fallacies page. For those that don't know where this is, it's yourlogicalfallacyis.com. And they have like all types of them. They've got straw men, you know, where you misrepresent someone's argument to make it easier, you exaggerate, or you just like this is, I think Trump does a lot of. Because he completely fabricates someone's argument half the time.
I think he just completely fabricates his fucking life.
Oh, I know, right? So you have like straw man argument where it's just something very simple. You misrepresent, you leave off perspective of somebody's view. That way then you can just tackle it and make it go away real quick. And that's just not fair. You got the whole special pleading, which this one's a pet peeve for me. I don't know about you. I hate it when people move goalposts. I had a guy come on my feed not long ago. He's a Gnostic Christian.
Mm-hmm.
He's all Mr. Mystical. He believes in the whole mysticism. God basically created us without realizing he created us kind of thing. Man's the higher one conscience. This guy was like way the fuck out there.
Yeah.
Aeons, and it's just like, oh my Lord. And he was upset because I posted that video with Sam Harris speaking about the truth about God.
Oh,
I
saw
that morality. Yeah, you saw that guy.
Yeah.
He got upset because I had said death cults, all of them. I was referring to one part of that video. And I posted that video on purpose. Because honestly, that video in itself is a logical fallacy. There's so much emotional pleading, appeal to emotion going on in that video. In the video, it's not even funny. I'm serious. It's not even fair. But I knew if I just had the video of Harris sitting there, kind of blah 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 blah, it's boring. But if you show the one that's got the emotional grip to it, people watch it through, right? So I kind of cheated with my whole thing, and because there's some parts that Harris puts forward that I don't completely agree with. I think he's completely ridiculous to even put God to a moral standard. That's not the rules.
You couldn't be. Morality applies to human beings. It doesn't really apply to a God, which I get a lot. That's an apologetic I receive a lot when I'm talking to people about when they say the Bible or like objective is objective morality in the whole world and kind of thing. Those are always fun conversations. I got my ass kicked by a dude once. Trying to bring up absolute morality and objective morality. And I thought he was going one way. He went the other way. He just beat the shit out of me. It was pretty cool. We talked about it later. It's like, man, yeah, I did not see that coming.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, I think morality is something when you're talking about God or gods, you should just avoid it like the plague. You really should. It's just not even, I think it's a waste of air and breath to go, well, why doesn't this guy have to follow the same rules as us? Well, hello, according to their doctrine, we're minions, so it doesn't apply.
Do ants follow our rules?
Exactly. And people go, oh, well, that means then that you're defending their view. And I'm like, no, I'm not. You have to understand it's not logical to argue the morality of something that is outside that realm anyway. It doesn't make sense, you know. This creature can do whatever it wants. So, yeah, I had a good time with this guy on that one. You know, you keep going, like on the site, if y'all haven't been there, they have like Appeal to Nature.
Dude, Appeal to Nature. I've used the potheads. Sorry, guys. The usually it's the normal guys, the why can't I talk? NORML, like normal guys are like, marijuana's from the earth, it's natural. I said, yeah, so it's plutonium, motherfucker, smoke up. I mean,
so it's plastic.
Yeah.
So
everything comes from everything in the world comes from the world because we're not getting it from somewhere else.
I know. I love that logic. It's like, really? And I think that's a formal logic being applied when we point out to people, technically, that plastic is still natural. Everything is natural. That's formal logic being applied here, okay? Because common sense logic would say natural doesn't mean it in the sense that we're applying it scientifically. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Natural means, oh, well, if I drink this aloe, it's going to help heal me, you know, because it's natural from the earth and not manipulated by man, kind of thing. So I think that's
farts smell, I think. Aloe farts?
I don't know.
That's just
you
where
want
my
to find
brain
out one
went.
day?
Sure, I'll do it. I don't give a damn.
Yeah, the gambler's fallacy. I've been bad about this one, I think, in the past.
I don't think I'm familiar with this one. Hold on. I can read it better on my screen.
Yeah. I mean, basically it says that runs occur to statistically independent phenomena such as a roulette wheel spin. So it's the idea that a fallacy can said to have helped create an entire city in Nevada. Though the overall odds of a big run happening may be low, each spin of the wheel in itself entirely independent from the last. So while there may be a small chance the heads will come up 20 times in a row, the chances of it coming up on remains 50-50 and aren't influenced by what happened before. But people seem to think, well,
I'm due.
At some point, yeah,
right.
There's this idea that it's going to happen. It's going to happen, you know. Either way, I know my ass is going to get bailed out if I'm behind on something, you know. You always have that luck. Somehow something is going to work out and come through. And that's not necessarily because of runs. It's just statistically, you might or might not likely have a chance of something improving. It's a complicated one, but people do use it. This one is I see this everywhere. The tu quoque. This one I see constantly.
I never learned how to pronounce that. Is it tu quoque? What is it?
Tu quoque. Tu quoque. It's French. Tu quoque. I'm pronouncing it like the French do. I don't know how Americans pronounce it. I pronounce it like the French do. Tu quoque. And basically, oh, I'm an asshole, but he did this. They try to divert away. And we see this all the time in politics, between different branches of religion. We see people justify the Catholics will even do it with their pedophile priest. Well, Jimmy Swaggart, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's an example of tu quoque.
But Hillary's emails.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone else was doing it too. So, yeah. And that's why whenever I was discussing this, like, First Amendment suppression that we were talking about last episode, I was making it very, very clear. I do not agree with the practice of leaving the press out. I don't agree with it. But it should be noted that this is the rules and other presidents have done it. I'm not saying it's okay, but don't be mad at the one guy. Be mad at the entire process that allows it. That means I'm not engaging in tu quoque. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? I was thinking about that. And I think I'm more mad about the whole all the news is fake news thing than I was more about kicking people out.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was not thinking well. It's okay.
It's fair. You're allowed to be upset and bothered. So
I'm all hot and bothered.
In all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
Slippery slope, we all know. I think we're all guilty of this on some
Oh,
level.
totally. But you know what? Here's the thing about the slippery slope is that sometimes it's apt, but sometimes it's not. But then when is it and when is it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, like presidency right now. It's a giant slippery slope. But is it a fallacy?
Yeah.
We don't know. This guy's so fucking off the wall. How do we know if it's going to be a fallacy or not? That's
exactly. Yeah. You know, we have to wait and see the outcome with. But it's like, I think a big slippery slope argumentation You saw that with Obama in the gun argument all the time.
Oh, yeah.
That, he's going to do this, and he's going to come get our guns, and then 8 years later, you still have your guns.
Dude, the local gun shop right down the road, I pass it every day, twice a day, going to my house and back. And when the election happened, they actually said on their marquee, it said, "Vote your guns." That's what it said. Vote your guns.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Here's, to me, they call it genetic, but I think it's discriminatory fallacy. Because this is coming from someone who lives in a family of thieves. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. To me, I think this is something where you're just basically, you're discounted based on the company you keep, or it could be genetics true as well. It focuses on where you're from, your background versus your actual argument, the actual argument itself. They focus on you personally. It's almost like an ad hom. It's really, really close.
Yeah. Well, in all fairness, I'm not going to trust any of the Palins when they ever give me advice. So.
Well, I mean, here's an example, and this is one that Trump uses. Accused on the 6 o'clock news of corruption and taking bribes, the senator said that we should all be very wary of the things we hear in the media, because we all know how very unreliable the media can be. See, we hear that with Trump all the time. He's always pulling this one, but it's not. I think they used the wrong word for this as far as genetic. I think they should have just said origins or something like that instead, but they like science.
Whatever.
Burden of proof is always a fun one.
Motherfuckers do not understand the burden of proof. Oh my God. Yes, I love that. And that's not what the person making. Oh, God. Because, someone saw it on Facebook yesterday or today. Someone said, well, you have to prove there's not a God, so the burden of proof falls on you. I'm like, no, motherfucker, you're the one making the claim.
But you also have to agree, though, that you ever get in those conversations with people and they're like, well, unless you send me the link, you haven't provided the burden of proof. It doesn't work that way either.
No, I agree with that. That's just being lazy.
If information is easily and readily available, you are not obligated to provide it to that person with the claim you're making. Now, if it's some top secret government shit that only you have access to, that's different. You better fucking pony up, okay? You do have a burden of proof. But if it's something they get on Wikipedia, or they can call their grandma and get photos, if it's readily available, free and open information, the person making the claim is not obligated to provide you with that evidence, okay? This is something I think people seem to forget. And when you're saying, hey, because you didn't send me that link to Wikipedia, you've not met the burden of proof, my friends, you are committing a fallacy yourself. You can't do, this is a two-way street on this one, on burden of proof. I think people miss out on that a lot. I think it's a high horse thing, oh, well, you didn't get me that, so dismissed, and it doesn't work that way. So it's a two-way street on burden of proof, people. You make a claim, you should be able to back it up, but you don't have to send every single link to every single article, you don't have to do that. But it's like with the whole proving God existing, we all know that can't be done anyway. It can't be, the idea of a God can't be really disproven or proven, because
you can't prove a negative anyway. Well, you say
God's outside outside of the natural realm. How are you going to prove it? Science only deals with the natural world, so
we need to have a seance.
It's untestable.
Got it.
It's
untestable.
It out.
Have a God seance. Or is that what confession is?
I don't know. It probably is.
Who knows?
Composition division is a tricky one. You basically, it's an all or nothing type of attitude. It either all fits or forget it. All or nothing. That doesn't work. It's not even rational thought to say, okay, this has to apply to every part of your argument or your claim and to everything else in the world, or it's not going to work. That's not how this works. Like this one with this kid named Daniel, and because atoms are invisible and he's made of atoms, therefore he must be invisible too.
Oh, just to
That's
women.
what it's not nice.
Just, you know.
We already saw Slippery Slope. At Home. Everybody loves that one.
Everyone who's not stupid.
What are you, stupid? See, you're not being. See, that's not an ad hom. You're asking a question, right?
Well, that's a really shitty thing, but yeah. But no, I think
see a lot of ad homs.
Oh, you totally do. It's usually when people are pissed off or losing the argument, but it's not always when you're losing the argument. And sometimes you're just like, God damn it, are you so fucking stupid?
Yeah, exactly. That's ad hom. It doesn't have to be just because you could be winning it and still throw an ad hom out there.
Oh yeah, it has nothing to do with. It's usually just when you've lost control of either yourself or the argument, but it's a personal attack that has nothing to do with the argument.
Here's the whole appeal to authority thing, which.
Yeah, see, I have a question about that.
Yeah.
Okay, the appeal to authority. Well, so and so said it, so it must be true.
Mm-hmm.
We asked Lawrence Krauss about, warp drive, and he said no. So do I believe him, or do I? I mean, or am I taking that out of context? I've never quite understood the appeal to authority. Like, I mean, that's like someone that's more educated than me in a certain field. I would appeal to their authority based on this thing. Or is that based on so-and-so, my preacher said this, he doesn't know anything about astrophysics, but the Bible says this, so this is true. Is that how that goes, the appeal to authority?
I think appeal to authority is whether Lawrence Krauss is right or not, using him as your sole reason is an appeal to authority.
Okay.
Let me see down here. It says, basically, don't hold all claims of absolute is what it's coming down to. Always be open to question.
I'm good with that.
And also, here's their example. Not able to defend his position that evolution isn't true. Bob says he knows a scientist who also questions evolution. Just because I know somebody who says this past week that warp drives are going to happen, even though the warp drives that they're talking about are not the same as the Star Trek warp drives we were talking about with Krauss. Okay, the ideas of warp that they were coming up with this week, they're not really warp in the concept of Star Trek like we're thinking of. I had to have this discussion with somebody. And my ex-roommate, the asshole, I had to explain to him, you need to watch Lawrence Krauss, watch some Neil deGrasse Tyson, watch Cosmos, because he was convinced that there's this binaural heartbeat of the Earth and that there's aliens and that we've never been to the moon. And I'm like, but we have all of these experts. Well, I don't know who they are. He dismissed their authority without even knowing who they are. He made himself the authority because I don't know them. I'm not going to buy anything they have to offer or say. I think appeal to authority is just basically don't make someone's authority absolute, because everybody can be wrong. Anybody can be wrong. We've seen that with Stephen Hawking and his black holes, right? So
it's just a modification of a hypothesis.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all. That's all.
Oh, that is.
The middle ground one I never really see. I don't know many people that want to compromise.
No. That's probably why our country's so divided the way it is. I'd be willing to. Well, sometimes you have, like, I guess in debate situations, you're willing to take things on. Well, let's apply this as true and go from there, or that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, like in this one, it has to do with autism. So one chick thinks it causes it. Her friend, who's scientifically well-read, says no. So the one that believes says, okay, tell you what, vaccinations must cause some autism, not just all. That's the middle ground. That's the middle ground.
Never heard that ever. I've never heard anyone,
It's always either or. I haven't run across a middle ground. I'm sure I will at some point, but, ambiguity, I think we've all been there, using double meaning or misleading language, misrepresenting the truth. I think William Lane Craig is a good example, somebody who uses a lot of ambiguity in his argumentation.
I really wish he'd debate Justin Cheever. I really wish he would.
Right?
This would fuck his world up.
The guy loves to hear himself talk, though. He really is like the Dr. Smith of the debate world.
Yeah, he's just so goddamn smug.
Yeah, he never loves his voice.
I thought Krauss fucked him up pretty good.
He did okay. He did okay. I think he let Mr. Lame get him upset though, and you could tell his temper was starting to flare a bit.
Well, it's that whole, are you that fucking stupid?
Yeah, but see, the thing is that William Lane Craig is not that stupid. He at least knew
he's
he
not.
was drawing Krause into that mode. You know what I'm saying? He knew if he gets him upset, then he could rattle him a little bit. And I remember watching that debate, and I was just like, oh, Krause, don't get angry. It's not worth, why are you getting mad? You know, and you could just tell he's just getting fed up. But Krause got better things to do at this time than talk to a man that won't quit looking in the mirror. So begging the question is always a fun one. And it's basically circular reasoning. We deal with this a lot, and I think people have to understand, especially when you're doing this type of argumentation, this is why I hate apologetics. Because to me, they're like the biggest waste of time and space. I don't even know why people bother in them to argue with people who, like, I wouldn't give Craig time of day to argue or discuss. I really wouldn't. Because that's all Craig has, is this type of argumentation. It's just a nonstop spiral that feeds into itself over and over and over. So how do you deal with that? How do you get him out of that loop? He's not going to get out of that loop or that dialogue, right?
Yeah, no. That's where his comfort zone is, and if you can't, that's where he's most powerful. Like he's a fucking, demon.
Yeah, pretty much, right? So I always tell people, I personally, and it's not because I'm unafraid, it's just, it's going to go nowhere. The only benefit is if you're in a big debate group, like with William Lane Craig or something, people who are observing and watching might learn something from you. That's about the only benefit. If it's you one-on-one with somebody and they're pulling this kind of shit, I just walk away from the conversation. Seriously, you just got to walk away. There's no point to it. And then we made it back to straw man. So that's everybody's favorite stuff. Those appeal to emotions are the worst.
You see that a lot with the vaccines.
Oh, yeah.
The anti-vax stuff. A lot of appeal to emotion there.
Yeah. And that's what I said, like when you see things with Sam Harris, I think Christopher Hitchens was guilty of this a lot of the time too. You see this also with churches, with the whole call to Calvary thing that they like to do. You see it all around the board. I think this is one of the biggest ones I think a lot of people go to, is the whole appeal to emotion. I think we all do it, because you've got to get an emotion out of somebody to get them sometimes to see it your way. You know what I mean? So I do. I find that emotional appeals really bring people out more to, they kind of lose track of where they're thinking, they're willing more to be swayed and manipulated when they're
that's
getting
the thing,
emotionally vested.
Yeah, but if you that's the key there, though. You're saying they can be swayed and taken. I mean,
taken advantage of.
Exactly, they're not being logically swayed. I'm not a fan of that. I think they should. I mean, but people need to be reasoned or either reasoned in or reasoned out.
I agree.
If possible. I mean, some people probably never will be able to. I don't know, but that should be. You should never try to. I think if the appeal to emotion is a terrible taking advantage. It's a breach of trust, I think.
It is. It is. And then you also have anecdotal fallacy. Everybody's anecdotal evidence, their personal experiences. You won't know God until you have your personal experiences with
You have
him,
sex with Joe Kindick. Yeah, I get that. Oh, wait. Sorry, that's completely anecdotal, but it's true, but it's anecdotal.
But yeah, everybody has their own anecdotal evidence of some kind, that they believe in an afterlife, or, I just know I had an anecdotal experience myself early on when I was leaving belief. I was convinced for a little while that God helped me leave my first husband, because there's this little lady that got on the bus with me, and my husband got on there, and he was being all crazy, and they walked him off the bus, and she's like patting my arm, telling him to be okay. She gets off of a bus stop in the middle of nowhere. I look out the window, and she's gone. Nowhere to be seen. I was convinced I'd seen an angel.
She probably just melted in the rain or something.
Probably.
Old people are
But, you know, it's just one of those things. And you kind of, you know, you find those experiences and you hold on to those as proof. Or God helped you find your car keys, man. That's anecdotal evidence.
And that's where the whole people don't know what coincidences are thing comes in.
Yeah, I know. I mean, statistically, you're going to find your keys.
Oh, who was that? What show was that? I think it was Serious Inquiries Only. They're talking about coincidence and the statistical anomalies of it. If you can find that, check it out. Google it. I think it's on Thomas's podcast. But yeah, that's a really cool thing. I mean, you think these things happen. Oh, I had exactly enough milk to do this. God, you know, loves me. Or motherfucker, you had exactly enough milk. I mean, it's
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not like something might be unlikely, but just because it's unlikely doesn't mean it's impossible.
Especially when there's 8 billion people on the planet and everyone's doing something at all. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, of course, we have our old favorite, No True Scotsman. Well, any real Christian, any real atheist, any real Democrat, any real Bernie supporter, any real progressive.
I totally have this conversation with my wife all the time because we talk about Westboro Baptist because I tend to lump a lot of Christians together, and I do. She calls me out on it all the time. And she goes, and I was talking about like Jesus Camp on Netflix. She goes, that's not a real Christian. And I was like, that's a fallacy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But like Westboro Baptist. Okay? Yeah. We don't talk about it much. Yeah, try to stay happy. But it's like the Westboro Baptist people. I don't consider them true Christians. I mean, I don't know what I consider a true Christian because true Christians don't consider true Christians true Christians. I mean, no one, you know. But I don't consider... I think a true Christian, I mean, what the hell do I know, is someone that would follow the Sermon on the Mount. That's what a true Christian is. I mean, that's what Christ allegedly said. Yeah. And I don't really have any problem with those people at all. I really don't. They're just that's good humaning. That's all it is, being a good human. Of course, you know, then you have everybody else, the Calvinists and everybody else. But I guess, but is that a true Christian? I mean, I don't know. A true Christian technically is anyone who believes in Christ, or doesn't have to follow Christ. I mean, hell if I know. Or
they follow the Apostles' Creed, right?
I follow the Assassin's Creed. Sorry. But no, it's what is a true Christian? One who follows Christ, or one who follows Paul, or one who follows the Vatican law because Jesus said he's never going to do it? Or
what's a true Democrat? What's a true vegan?
True vegan is someone who doesn't eat meat. That's what or any animal products. That one's pretty easy to figure out.
You would think, but there's some people who make the exception for fish.
That's a pescatarian. That's a technical.
But you get the idea. Yeah. People they have their own little litmus test of standards. So. And then you have stuff like bandwagoning. I think the only example I've really got of bandwagoning I know was these sports or those spirit boards, not Ouija boards, but like spirit boards where you like remember back in Christian day, I don't know if you remember, but we were always told when I was growing up, speak what you want, speak it frequently, that way it'll happen. Kind of you're verbally reminding yourself your goals. Well, now they got this thing where you like put all this that you like do fucking stupid cut out your
I have no idea.
Pictures in magazines and like paste it on a board and you hang it up in the house and you're focusing and praying around it all the time and things will happen apparently.
Yeah, no. I mean, you got to remember I wasn't a Christian until I did a stint for about 3 months when I was like 17. That was about it. I mean, I don't have the background to really.
You were never a Christian. No, I'm kidding.
So, yeah, that's fine. I'm fine with that.
I'm teasing. I have no clue.
No, I never was. I mean, I started doubting after I found out that I actually wrote a paper about this in college, but that's when I found out that the Santa wasn't real. I started questioning fucking everything, and then I was an atheist for 5 or 6 months from then.
That's awesome.
That's when I was 9 years old. And my wife helped me finish writing the paper on our honeymoon. So she was just super
wow.
She was really mad. I was like, you procrastinate too much. I go, I don't know what you're talking about. It's funny because,
That's
she's a
funny.
teacher and she's also a Christian. And she's helped me write my paper about how I became an atheist. So it was really funny.
Hey, it's a good mix if it works.
It works. It's retarded sometimes, but
yeah,
it works.
You're one of the few that makes it work, I think.
Well, she actually, all right, I'm probably telling on myself here, but she thinks that her and I getting back together is God's will. I'm like, I don't think that's the case. I mean, we broke up because I was
credit to you.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't.
Thanks, buddy.
I mean, we got, we broke up because I was an atheist, and she'd fall in love with an atheist, and that's not what God wants.
Mm-hmm.
2 Corinthians or whatever. And then we got back together after, she had married and divorced from a Christian, and now it's God's plan. I'm like, we'll just agree to disagree. I did not want to go full on into that one.
Yeah.
Divorce,
that's understandable. It is.
Well, now it wouldn't have been that bad, but now the kids there, that shit's going to cost me minimum $800 a month. I found that out today. I was just goofing off, wondering what child support would cost me. Yeah, I can't afford to live in my house.
Now you know. Well, next is cherry pick data. They call it the Texas sharpshooter. I just call it cherry picking. I think we all know what that is.
Yeah.
My favorite, and I think cherry picking in a way, I don't know. What do you think? Is cherry picking, it's like false cause, right? So would you consider people saying that the United States is a Christian nation and the reasoning behind that is a false cause, a cherry pick?
I think that would be a poor example of that. I think because I think a better example would be Jesus said, Jesus is the Prince of Peace or whatever, because he said, oh, God damn it. I just brain fucking farted. Well, it's not, I came not to bring peace, but to bring a sword.
Yeah.
But you cherry pick, I came to bring a sword. Does that mean Jesus is violent?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That's when I think cherry picking, I think it's taking an example of something. I mean, I could be way off base here.
Well, it's like, it can also be like saying, oh, well, I wrote a book about me, like a Bible about me, right? And somebody took a line in there and says, oh, ketchup is blessed because it says here, ketchup is good. And
it doesn't belong on a motherfucking steak.
Exactly.
God damn.
Exactly. They like leave off the rest of the scripture. So that would be a cherry pick. Or like David Koresh did that to justify his smoking. He picked like 5 words from a verse describing Yahweh as the volcano god and said, and then smoke came from his nose. He goes, see, I'm allowed to smoke.
Man.
That's cherry picking, folks.
Start a cult. You get so much ass. They give you money. It's a good gig, really.
He was fucking kids too, though. That was kind of bad.
Yeah, I don't get that. I don't live in Thailand. I don't know. No.
So let me ask you, what does, I wonder if it's, no, it can't be a fallacy. What does this whole America's a Christian nation argument fall under? Because we know this is fallacious thinking.
It's not entirely fallacious thinking. We were not founded as a Christian. It depends on what you want to define as a Christian nation. Are we founded by Christians? Are we a majority Christian nation? It all depends on it would really depend on the context. I mean, we are vastly.
Well, my context for this question is because someone had said they'd posted a meme where they looked at this woman because she was wearing a hijab and she said she felt threatened in America walking around wearing it. And the person said to her, well, why don't you go back to your country? But the woman's from America. She's like born and raised here. So where's she supposed to go? And the idea is because, well, this is a Christian nation. Okay. My attitude has been one that it doesn't matter if this is a Christian nation. I personally believe that we were not founded on Christianity, but influenced by it. I think that's more than fair to say.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Yeah. I mean,
I think that's more than fair to say. I'd be disingenuous to say otherwise. We are totally influenced by Christianity in the founding of this country. But does that matter?
I don't think so. I don't think it does.
Because I think the Constitution said we're all created equal. So is Christianity supposed to be an exception to the Constitution that they've got a hard on for?
Damn. When I've got something out. Someone had printed out at work about the 10 Commandments and why they shouldn't be. How they actually go against the Constitution. All except for like 3 things, or like or laws or whatever.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. It's like thou shalt have no other gods before me. Well, that violates the First Amendment. And then like the first 4 commandments violated the fucking First Amendment of the United States.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people all the time. I'm like, and it's like with this guy, he says, well, you're literally interpreting Christianity. It's metaphorical. I said, it doesn't really matter how I interpret it. Big picture, it doesn't fucking matter. It's still an escapism, whether you do it literally or metaphorically, and that's kind of where I am with the whole America's a Christian nation. It's like, it doesn't fucking matter, even if it was, even if we were we had Jesus Christ standing there saying, sign here, John Hancock, Adams, you sign here, and let's go grab a beer, Ben, after you. It doesn't fucking matter. At the end of the day, it does not matter that this is a Christian nation. It's irrelevant to the discussion. Correct? And I think that's what bothers people, because at the end of the day, the Constitution, the founders,
you can't have the Constitution and be considered a Christian nation. You can't. You can't. Those are diametrically opposed to each other.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's not relevant if this is a Christian nation or not, because the Constitution says it doesn't matter. Everybody gets the same protections. Everybody gets the same rights. Everybody gets the same recognition.
I see you're going with that. Okay, gotcha.
So, yeah, people get really pissy when I say Christianity is irrelevant to the question of whether we're a Christian nation or not. It doesn't matter when it comes to the Constitution. That's cognitive dissonance right there. Oh my God, that's when I see all of these fallacies come out. Ad hom, straw men, you name it, they're fucking winging it at me. They hate that shit. And it's like when I bring up the fact, when I say, well, I really see religious belief, whether it's Christianity, Zoroastrian, whatever, I see it as an escapist behavior. You're obviously disenchanted with being human because you're striving to be something outside of your mortal coil. I'll get all pissy again. That's not fair. You don't understand. It's metaphorical. I'm either being too metaphorical or I'm being too literal, or I was never a Christian to begin with, or, I get all these things and it's like, guys, all of this is irrelevant. It's frustrating. So, and I have to keep my temper.
Yeah, because then the ad homs start flying.
It's like, man, I could say something right now and it feels so good. I get like 20 Reddit points if I said it, but I'm better than this, so I try to remind myself. Because the instant you make that fallacy mistake, they romp you with it the rest of the time, even though they've been doing it the whole goddamn time. Yeah,
that's the thing, though. And if you commit a logical fallacy, like a knowing, like an ad hom, or if you move the goalpost, that kind of negates your position.
Well, just because you make a mistake, a fallacy, as long as your actual claim is true, it doesn't matter.
Well, you can't.
It doesn't negate your claim.
No, but
you look not as smart as you thought you were.
Well, that it kind of negates your high horseness if you're calling people out on their fallacies and then you commit one.
Yeah, it's like, oh, by the way, you misspelled this. At the end of that, you misspelled a word while you're telling them what they misspelled. Oh, totally, yeah. So, but yeah, that's that I thought it was important for people to get a refresher tonight on that, because I'm seeing a lot of debates going on lately, and with Nanocon coming up and then ReasonCon, people kind of need to sharpen their wits a little bit when they're dealing with other people, especially politically speaking. If you get into political discussions with folks, you might as well be if you're talking to someone who's for Hillary, for Bernie, for Trump, for Cruz, any of these people, it's like they're their own ideology in a way. So everybody's, kind of debating and arguing politically now, even within secular groups. And I'm kind of looking forward. I'm hoping I see that guy from last year, that Bernie.
Oh, the Bernie guy?
Yeah. I'm not going to be smug. I'll be like, just, I told you.
Like, I'm not going to say I told you so, but I fucking told you so.
Pretty much. Yeah. See if I see him this year. But, yeah.
I never saw him. I think I might have glanced. He had glasses on, like a white button up. Was that me?
No, he was the white guy that really couldn't dance out on the dance floor. He was horrible. Jenica Krell knows who I'm talking about. She's with Recovering from Religion Hotline.
Cool as shit.
Huh?
It was cool to meet her. She was cool.
She's fantastic. I love Jenica to death. Hopefully we'll see her again this year and get some more hugs in. But yeah, she was there with me when this guy was chasing me down before we left. Because Bernie had just won the primary in another state. He's like, see, he's got her. He's like screaming down the hallway, chasing me down. I was like, oh my God. So I hate to say I told him so, but I don't. But it should be an interesting discussion because he got immediately offended when I said that Bernie was a shill to begin with, whether he knew it or not. He was a shill. And boy, was it a bad bet. But I want to see just how much he's still working on this whole grassroots movement that he was going on about, and hopefully encourage him to keep up with it if he's kind of slacked off.
Well, that's kind of one thing I've noticed about the current situation in America. The grassroots shit's kind of taken off, which is really nice.
It is. It is. I just hope we see a better turnout during the midterms.
Oh, fuck yeah.
If we still only have a 14% show up, then we know Bernie failed. I'm sorry. He completely failed. And part of me knows that's probably what's going to happen, but there's this little optimist inside going, come on, don't be such an asshole. So I'm hoping. Yeah. I'm trying to tell people it's not hopeless or pointless to go vote, you know. But there's a lot of people who are angry at Bernie Sanders. They feel like he sold out. So
he said from the beginning he would vote for Hillary if she won. But that's where he fucked up. I think that's where he fucked up.
I told people that after the first week, and I heard him say, I said, nope, he ain't going to make it. Why? Because he said he'll back Hillary. He shouldn't have made a comment at all. And then with the following he had, he should have gone his own way with them and ran anyway. We might have still ended up with the Trump presidency, but I think he would have validated better how people feel. He robbed people of their optimism with how that went down. I think Bernie's as much to blame as Hillary's campaign for sidelining him. I really do. So what do I know? I didn't just call it from a mile away. But
I mean, prognostication.
Yeah.
So looking at facts, guys, works. It's a thing that works.
It does work, just like my math.
So your mouth or your math?
My mask.
Oh shit! Ha!
This is cool. How I feel. This is revolution. So here's hoping.
Either that or you're at a fucking ICP concert, like a fucking
no,
juggalo.
ICP's not this classy. Oh hell no! This is class. That's trash. But anyway, we're gonna call it a night because I got some Borderlands shooting to do and go to my little La La Land of blood, guts, and meat puppets.
It's hot.
I need my 3 pounds of flesh.
Might get on some Call of Duty and kill some fools before I have to go to work.
All right, everybody. Well, same time, same channel next week. We will have a guest next week. It's going to be a surprise.
Sweet. I'm surprised.
But it'll be good. You'll like it.
That's what they all tell me.
Night, everybody.
Night, everybody. Love you. Oh, hey.
What?
Are we still here?
Yeah.
Just want to give a shout out. Adam Fusion's getting married April 1st, and I'm going to be hosting the ceremony. So
try to get some snippets of the videos, and we'll place it on our podcast next month. We'll play a little highlight reel from it. So
I'll see what I can do.
If he was willing to share. Privacy and all. I can put an 8-ball over his face the whole time.
You have that much cocaine just laying around? That's crazy.
Oh, man. Not yet. All right, everybody. Y'all have a good night.
Night.